Hi, I'm Ritz, Product Manager for AWS. Simulating real-world systems at their real-world scale requires a significant amount of computing resources. Maybe you want to simulate rush hour traffic in a major city for emergency responders. Maybe you want to plan the best way to regrow a forest affected by climate change into a thriving ecosystem. Or you want to model the countless galaxies in the universe, or any other scenario that involves large amounts of interacting objects. Simulating one of these objects on its own isn't very difficult. Take this vehicle, for example. To navigate through traffic, this car has to go from point A to point B along some planned route. But simulating just one car or 10 cars or even 100 isn't very realistic if you're trying to simulate a whole city. There are hundreds or thousands of cars on the road at once. There are also traffic lights, emergency vehicles, pedestrians crossing the streets with their furry companions. In trying to recreate the real world in your virtual world, you'll eventually reach a limit on how many things can simulate at one time. If the simulation gets too big, it might slow down or even stop. Simulations today are generally confined to running on a single computer. Unlike a web server or traditional database, simply adding more computers doesn't solve the problem. For starters, you'll have to figure out how to deploy all your infrastructure in a secure manner. Next, you need to figure out how to weave together the various pieces of your simulated world into one, so that objects can seamlessly move from one part of the world to the other. And finally, you need to somehow keep the entire simulation time synchronized. If not, the simulation falls apart. AWS SimSpace Weaver is a new service for building and managing large-scale spatial simulations in the cloud. To help me illustrate, Adam Villalobos, our lead software development manager, is going to join me as we jump into the simulation. We take a single instance simulation and parallelize it across multiple Amazon EC2 instances. SimSpace Weaver automatically provisions the requested number of resources. In this simulation, I'm an object on one of the instances, and Adam has spawned in on another.
Even though SimSpace Weaver spatially divides your simulation, it still acts and behaves like a single seamless world. So not only can I see Ritz across the instance boundary, I can also interact with them. Here, catch.
Thanks, Adam.
When I crossed over the boundary, that transition was automatically managed by AWS SimSpace Weaver. Here, I'll cross back over too. The service also keeps both me and Ritz in time sync. When throwing him the ball, if he was behind in the simulation time, that would mean that the ball flies into the empty expanse.
So that means you have no excuse for bad aim.
Unfortunately, no, not that I'd need to. And this goes for all objects in the simulation, not just us. So even when you're simulating an entire city, everything in the simulation is actively reacting and responding to everything else in real time. And even though Ritz and I are close together, you can see and interact with objects anywhere in the simulation. So if you're an observer watching us from above, you can do that too.
Okay, Adam, so here's an important question. How do developers actually get started creating all of this?
Well, if you're using Unreal Engine or Unity, we've already built integrations that will get you started quickly. And if you have your own custom simulation engine, you can use our C++ SDK to start integrating. And SimSpace Weaver works locally for testing. So you can deploy your simulations at a smaller scale, even on your laptop, and test for free. When you're ready to scale up, move on over to the cloud. No need to rewrite any code.
We're so excited to finally bring the power of the AWS cloud to help developers scale their spatial simulations. We've built AWS SimSpace Weaver so developers can remain focused on creating cutting-edge simulation code and content without ever having to worry about the underlying infrastructure. We can't wait to see how developers like you will surprise us by expanding your spatial simulation capabilities with AWS SimSpace Weaver.